at the hub of any smartphone, any tablet, is an operating system. Without the operating system, a tablet, a device, a smartphone, it's nothing. So I'm going to show you, or talk to you, about Windows 8. Now, I'm showing it on the Microsoft Surface Pro. Oh, seems to be having some weird technical hitch.
It's amazing how shy gadgets get when you put them
what?
on a stage at the
I'm going
hub.
to show it to you on this instead. Okay, so Windows 8. Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8, ultimately, the essence of them are the same. So you've got this really lovely, eyeball-friendly succession of tiles, live tiles that give you information, glanceable information, so you don't necessarily have to open up an application to get info. So that can be your peoples or contacts that you're talking to on a regular basis. Because we've got quite a bad Wi-Fi signal in here, there's so much connectivity going on in here, it's not actually showing what it should be showing because it's interfering with the Wi-Fi, but it will show you the latest people you're talking to, it will show you your latest photographs that you've taken, your latest email will also pop up on top there as well, and if you scroll to the right, this just gives you access to other features that you can add to the front page. So by holding it down, you can simply pin a feature to the start to customize your user experience and just customize and make the home screen personable to you. This seems to have come back to life, so let me see if I can just
do you do it while you
going.
talk?
Monkey. No, password's incorrect, right, forget that. Now, the thing about Windows Phone 7, Windows Phone 8, sorry, and Windows 8 is that unlike Android, it's not highly customizable. To an extent, there is a level of customization, but it's more akin with iOS in that it's got this uniform structure that you can't really mess with that much. What Windows does is give you access to Office and things like that, so you can edit documents on your smartphone, edit documents on your tablet, your PC. Now, annoyingly, I'm really annoyed that this isn't working because I wanted to show you Windows Phone 8 running on a tablet device. So the idea is it gives you this dual user experience. So on the one hand, you've got the finger-friendly tiles I've just shown you on the phone, but it's also got access to a desktop user interface. So it's going back to the days of Windows 7. So if you're not familiar, if you're not liking the kind of bright colors and the tiles of the mosaic live tiles of Windows 8, it takes you back to that PC experience. And I don't know if any of you are aware, but Windows just updated Windows Phone to Windows Phone 8.1 and Windows 8.1. So on the PC, you're getting a more computer-friendly experience because a lot of people get a computer and you're using a mouse and a keyboard. Those mosaic live tiles don't lend themselves to using a mouse because they're all about using with your hands. So what it does now is automatically recognize what machine you're using and it will launch the user interface depending on what machine you're using.
They've got their act together now, haven't they?
They definitely have.
Considering that they were the biggest at one point, now it does feel like they catch up when it comes to mobiles, and they're getting there.
Yes. Now I want to talk to you about Android. Okay, so Android is a fantastic user interface, and what I love, or operating system, what I love about it is it's open. So anyone can create an application for it. Any smartphone manufacturer can take it and whack it onto their smartphone. And unlike iOS, there are different iterations that you can put onto your smartphone. So not all smartphones give you the same Android experience. So what we've got here is the Nexus 7.72 running Android KitKat. This is the very latest version of Android. Now, one of the things I absolutely love about Android is Google Now. This is unique to Android. And I call it Android's stalker feature. So what it does is it learns your location history, your download history, your calendar, your diary. It takes every bit of information it knows about you to deliver information to you that you wouldn't have even known you needed. So an example is, it says 3 hours, 8 minutes to get home. So it knows where I live, it knows where I am. It's telling me that if I want to go home on the train, it's going to take 3 hours and 8 minutes. Glasgow Central to London Euston departs at 12:20. So it's giving you information to get home before you even need it. You don't need to search it. It gives you the weather. It tells you what local amenities are around, restaurants, points of interest, things like that. So what it does is it essentially stalks you. It stalks all the activity that you do in your smartphone and tablet to deliver information directly to your device.
Okay.
Yeah, and Android's fully customizable. Every home screen on any Android device allows you to add applications and widgets. So if I go into a menu, for example, I want to add Play Movies, which is Google's service to download and access movies and TV shows, I can add that onto my home screen. Equally, I can add live widgets. Now, Android's the only operating system that enables you to do this. You can put live widgets on the home screen. Now, a live widget is quick, glanceable information that allows you to get quick access to information from your calendar, from email, news, RSS feeds, things like that, without having to open up an app. And these are fully customizable. You're free to move them around and add them to different home screens. It's a really good operating system and definitely one that's widely adopted by most smartphone manufacturers. I'm a huge Apple fan, I've got to say. I've got to hold my hand up.
I always find it interesting to see when you have tech presenters, what do you use? And both of us have iPhones, but we are both open to looking at newer stuff this year, which is why this session is good for us.
There is something that I'm going to talk about later that I'm very, very excited about, and it could actually be the smartphone that's going to make me move over to Android.
Okay.
But more on that in a moment. I just want to talk about this. This is the Nokia 1020. Now, it's definitely not the best smartphone. It's definitely not the best camera, but it's definitely the best camera phone. It's got a 41 megapixel camera. Now, in the world of smartphones, it's all about the megapixel race. Everyone's kind of racing to get the best camera, pack in as much megapixels as they can. This has 41 megapixels, and what that means is when you put your photos on your computer, for example, you can zoom in up to 3 times and it won't lose any quality. Sometimes when you take photographs on quite, low-end cameras, be it on a smartphone, even a point and shoot, you zoom in and you can see it gets grainy, it gets pixelated, everything looks pretty substandard, really. So what you've got here is a smartphone that's dedicated to, being your replacement point and shoot. Even from its guise, you can tell that it's definitely got camera optics at the forefront. Now, what I like about Microsoft and Nokia's partnership with this phone is that they've allowed Nokia to put some of its own software on top of the smartphone. So you've got Nokia Music, for example. Think of this as their answer to Spotify. You can stream thousands upon thousands of tunes, courtesy of Nokia. It's got drive-by-drive, turn-by-turn navigation as well. If you don't have a Google smartphone, Android actually offers the best turn-by-turn navigation. This is secondary to that. We're not even going to talk about Apple Maps because that's just car crash. And overall, you're looking at a really pro-quality camera inside a smartphone. Is this paramount to you? This is definitely worth looking into. These days, we're carrying our laptops, our tablets. The last thing you want is to then chuck in a camera.
Nokia have always been good with cameras.
Yeah, they really pay attention to the optics. And I think, but that's one of the things they get criticized for. They don't pay attention to anything else. So the design, their phones are a bit chunky. They use operating systems that aren't necessarily that popular. But when it comes to cameras, they're definitely one of the best. These two are two of the most anticipated smartphones of the year, and this is the smartphone that I think is going to make me change from iPhone to Android, iOS. Yeah, because last year the HTC One was probably the best Android smartphone out there. It had an amazing screen, it was unbelievably sharp, it was fast, it had great battery life, and it was a gorgeous piece of eye candy. And the HTC One M8, or the Mate as I like to call it, is exactly the same, only it's improved tenfold. So it's got an even bigger screen, even sharper, so it'll poke your eyeballs out, and it still retains that status as a gorgeous bit of aluminium eye candy. But it's what's on the inside that I love about this. So going back to what I said about Android, anyone can add their own skin, anyone can add their own customizable options on top of the Android interface. So on the one hand, you've still got your customizable home screens. I can add things like Twitter to my home page, and that's customizable and personable to me. But what I love about HTC is what HTC is calling Blink Feed. Now, what this is an aggregation of all your favorite news and social feeds, all pulled into this lovely, visually friendly, thumbnail-heavy feed of everything that you want access to. And you can customize this by picking all the different news sources and social networks that you want to pull in information from. So building on the HTC One, what it actually does now, it's very clever. It learns your behavior. So if I'm looking at Aled's Twitter feed quite a lot, when I open it up, Aled will be there at the top. If I'm constantly looking at, I don't know, let's say stuff.tv, stuff.tv will be at the top of this feed, and then following underneath, there'll be loads of other news sources that I've also decided to sign up to. So that's a really fun feature, and it's unique to HTC. No one else does this. Samsung's got a feature that's quite similar, but in my opinion, it's not as nice, but it's still very, very good. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the camera. Now, if I just turn the camera around, you'll notice that the One M8 has got 2 sensors instead of 1. Now, a lot of camera phones, a lot of phones even, don't do this. What you've got here is an added depth sensor, and I just want to show you what this can do. So, for example, I've taken a photo, the focus is a little bit off. What I can do is I can refocus my image post-shot. Now, Samsung does this, but you have to enable a certain feature to enable the post-focus feature.
It's almost more of an arty feature on the Samsung, whereas this helps if you've got the granny that lifts the camera to take a photo of you and your mates, and she just gets the tree behind you.
Everyone in the photo is a blur, but the tree is perfect, perfectly detailed. So this is an example of that. So if I go, here's a photo I've taken earlier. Now, if I hit the U-Focus option in the edit options, as you can see, the Stuff magazine on the left is in focus. Let's say I want to change the focus to the Stuff magazine in the foreground. Immediately, that part of the image is now the focus, and everything else in the photo is now blurry. This is a kind of feature you get on high-end DSLRs, high-end point-and-shoots. So I think it's really incredible that HTC have packed this kind of software into their smartphone. And there are loads of other features as well. You know, you can add seasons, you can just completely manipulate your photos and just have a laugh with it. You can turn some of your photos 3D as well. So they've really gone to town on their camera functionality here. And I'll just talk about megapixels for a second, because we were talking about the 1020, a massive 41 megapixel camera sensor, probably one of the best smartphone cameras out there. What HTC's done is thought, nah, I don't want to be part of the megapixel race. We're going to do ultra pixels. So it's got a 4.1 ultra pixel camera, which sounds pretty lackluster compared to the 13 megapixel camera of the Samsung and the 41 megapixel camera of the 1020. But what this means is it lets in more light. So let's say you're in a party, you're in a dark environment, the HTC One M8 is going to get you fully detailed photographs in low light. This is something that a lot of smartphones struggle to do, and this is what puts the HTC One's camera right at the top. Not necessarily the best, but it's definitely at the top of the smartphone.
We're sold. Honestly,
yes.
Lucy, we are sold.
And one more thing I want to talk about as well, another thing that's unique to this, or kind of competing with Samsung, it's got Fitbit functionality. Fitbit's all about fitness tracking, so you can use this phone as a fitness tracker. And if you do have any of Fitbit's fitness trackers or any of their accessories, you can sync them up to your phone, and this can be your new exercise companion. So I want to move on to a new breed of device. It's called the Phablet. It's an awful portmanteau of tablet and smartphone, but it's one that the tech industry seems to have gone with. And I think the one smartphone manufacturer that helped bolster this category is Samsung. And this is the Samsung Note 3, so it's on its 3rd iteration of its giant smartphone. So you might feel a bit weird when you're holding it up to your ear, but the bonus of these devices is that they work well as a smartphone, and if you do feel a bit funny about holding a giant smartphone to your face, you can hook it up to a Bluetooth headset, of course. But the great thing about it is the screen's so big, so if you're watching a film, you're looking at applications, you're browsing websites, you've got amazing screen real estate. Unlike some other smartphones that are quite small, text can be tiny, you have to squint, you have to zoom in. You don't have to do that with Samsung's Note 3. Now, I just want to show you a few unique features to Samsung that is added onto its device to make it stand out amongst all the other carbon copy phablets that are coming out there now. So using the stylus, I can launch this menu here. Now, all these features are stylus dependent. So I'm going to show you one that I absolutely love. It's called Action Memo. So let's say, for example, I've met a nice boy, and I want to jot his number down. So I'm writing his number down, here we go. And I can turn this into an actionable memo. So as you can see, I've hit an icon, a box goes around it, and I've now got a selection of options. I can phone it, I can add it to my phone book, I can whack it into an email, I can do so much with it. And with these options as well, let's say I put in a postcode and address, I can immediately fire up Google Maps. If I put in an email address, I can immediately trigger an email, so I don't need to close this application and go into these individual apps. I can just do it all from this. So it's quite fun, and the fact that it has this squiggly note feature is definitely an advantage over all the other phablets out there. Another feature I want to show is, let's just get rid of that. So if you bring up that menu again, and again, this is something that no other phablet has, pen window. So this is all about multitasking. So using my stylus, if I draw a box around, I can create an application, I can create a box, for an application to sit within. Now, these are the options that you get. So you've got the internet, YouTube. I can make a phone call. I can look at a calculator or a clock. And once I fire that up, it opens up on top of whatever I'm doing. So it just gives you that multitasking functionality and just an edge over other devices. Now, moving on to another phablet.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go over here. And I just want to show you a really cool feature on the Sony Xperia Z Ultra. Now,
I can't watch this. I find this really weird.
Now, with a device this big, it's really great to have a stylus. Samsung's all about the stylus. Sony, not so much. But what it's done is allow you to use a bog standard pen or pencil as a stylus.
So you're writing on your device, which costs a few £100s, with a pen.
With a pen.
That's
I
wrong.
would prefer to use a pencil, but there wasn't a pencil around, so I'm going to use a pen. And depending on the pen, depends on how, you know, how well this handwriting gesture works. So I'm going to try and write, hi. So there we go. I don't know what that bit on the left is, an exclamation mark. But the idea is that Sony's kind of got this sophisticated screen that allows you to use anything, any pen, any pencil on the device, as opposed to a dedicated stylus, which enables it to create such a skinny and beautiful form factor because there's nowhere that you need to slot in a stylus. And this device itself is also waterproof as well. This is my favorite phablet. I love the Samsung Note 3, but there's just something so delicious about this handset.
Sony are trying very hard.
They are.
They are actually.
Very, very
And they're
hard.
producing some very nice stuff. For example, this is the Sony Xperia Z2 tablet. It is the world's thinnest, the world's lightest 10-inch screen, 3 GB of RAM, which means it's very powerful. 64-bit of memory, so a lot of gigabytes of memory, so there's lots of space on there as well. It's tiny, it's so thin and
It's
easy
so
to walk
light when
around.
you pick it up, isn't it?
Absolutely. Very nice.
Well, we spoke so much about Apple, we've got Sony.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's trying to beat the iPad. And so Samsung has been trying. In fact, Samsung has got so many tablets. You lose count of how many tablets they have. There's the Note 10.1, the Tab 10.1, Tab 10.1 2014.
It is confusing.
The Note 7, the Note 8. There's so many. And they've just thrown another one into the mix. This is the Note 12.2. This is Samsung's attempt at the oversized business tablet. So it's kind of taken that oversized smartphone functionality and dashed it into its tablet. You can't actually make phone calls on this one, but I don't doubt for a second that
someone will
maybe
try.
next year you'll be able to do that. But you know, like I showed you on the Note 3, it's got all this cool functionality that you can use with a stylus. So there's that menu again, but everything just looks a bit better because it's on this giant screen. Now there's one feature that I'm really excited about actually on this, and this is the only tablet that can do this. So let me just set it up for you. It's a multitasking feature. So I can pull this menu out from the side and I can run up to 4 displays simultaneously. This is 4 high-def displays as well. So this thing is seriously powerful. It's able to run 4 screens simultaneously without it slowing down any kind of bug at all. Let's see if we can do that. Oh, it seems to be, so there's 2. We pull another one out. So you could be running your favorite website, you could be watching a video, you could be having a video chat with someone, you could run all those things simultaneously at the same time. Wow. And because it's got a 12.2-inch screen, the screen real estate lends itself perfectly to it. And I must admit, for a 12.2-inch tablet, it's a little bit weighty, so you will feel it on your wrists after a while, but this is the only tablet like this out there. So if you are looking for a super-sized tablet, or maybe something to sit on your coffee table, this is a great device.
This LG phone seems to be curved.
It is curved.
Is that by mistake? Is that design? Is that to look good?
No, it's not. It's not. Definitely not a mistake. So this year, LG came out with what it was calling the world's first flexible smartphone. And I think that was a little bit misleading because when you hear the word flexible, you think that you'll be able to, you know, bend it and maybe wrap it around your wrist. But no, you can't actually do that. It does have bendable components, but they've been set in a rigid design. But you can. I want you to do this today, Aled.
Oh, no.
It can take the weight of 80 kg, up to 80 kg.
Hang on, let me check. No, I'm right, okay.
So that curve then goes flat. There's no real benefit to this, but LG, let's say you sit on it or it gets crushed by something, you're not going to smash the screen.
I'm actually doing this. I'm going to stand on this.
Do it.
Is it all right?
Just do it. It's fine. It takes the weight. Actually, I heard a crack there, but that was the stage, not the phone.
Thank goodness.
And given its size, it's actually falling into phablet territory.
So it flattens out.
It flattens out. You can't just do that with your hand unless you're a super strong human being. But the idea is that if you do, I don't know, if you do find it in a situation where it's getting crushed by something, you're not going to ruin the screen, you're not going to ruin the design.
Okay.
And something I will, that LG is actually quite excited about. This is something I call its Wolverine functionality. It's got a self-healing back panel. This sounds really bizarre. So let's say you get a very slight scratch. How many times have you gone to your phone and you're like, how did I get that scratch? Where did that come from? Very, very light. What you can do, what this back panel does, is it self-heals itself. So over time, it sounds like magic, but trust me, I've ran keys over a device before and it's gone the next day. Over time, it just gradually pushes that very light scratch out of the design so that it goes back to being a flawless back panel.
That's
it's really
amazing.
weird. I will tell you, it doesn't work with scissors. I tried that after. LG weren't happy with me about that. But it definitely works with keys.
Small
and other
scratches.
Just very light scratches, yeah.
Amazing.
It's unique to that phone. It's cool.